And welcome to Life Support Live, the every now and then live show that explores how Star Trek can help us to boldly go in our own lives to better ourselves and the rest of humanity.
As a famous starship, I do believe after all this time, still said that once upon a time. And, you know, Ali, as another famous starship captain who's gotten a lot more famous in recent years, once said, wherever our mission takes us, we'll try to have a little fun along the way.
That is 100% correct. Hello, everyone. I am psychologist Dr. Ali Mattu.
And I am Larry Nemecek, Dr. Trek. One of us is a real doctor.
And we'll leave it to you to decide who that might be. Larry, it is good to see you. Virtual Trekland, it is good to see you.
Yes. This is awesome. This is like the third time we've brought back Life Support Live, and it's an honor. We're kicking off Virtual Trekland this year, which is awesome.
We are kicking it off. They trusted us.
Yes. We're not under those new kickoff rules. We're on the old traditional kickoff.
The old traditional kickoff rules, yeah, where it's I don't know, a live long and prosper and a
yes, and no sarcastic Vulcans at you.
No. Larry, it is so good to see some familiar faces in the chat.
I'm just smiling all up and down. Everybody, I got a little verklempt. Everybody enjoyed that we got the old happy music and the timer and everything.
Yeah, Bob D is here. Scott is here. Hi, May. So many new faces and familiar faces, and everyone. This is awesome. It's so good to see you, Larry. But it's been a while.
It has.
We should let people know, what is this thing of Life Support Live?
What is this thing called?
What is this feeling?
Yes, everybody drink.
That didn't take
so Life Support Live, when the pandemic hit, one of my advisors said, hey, we do. And someone said, go serve your communities. And I knew the easy ways to do that. And I had been on we had Portal 47 going for 5 years. So my folks knew what this was like. But Ali and I had pitched a panel to WonderCon in Anaheim about about mixing mental health and Star Trek, one through the other's lens, and using the Picard trauma through all the series as an idea. And when everything
Picard had just aired at that point. It just had started. Yeah.
Yes. Picard had just started. Got
Season 1.
But there was plenty of Picard trauma back there to deal with. And yes, it was very topical at the time. But when the panel went away and the con went away, we said, why don't we try to do a live stream with this? And as we got into it, it evolved. Life Support Live was the name. 10 a.m. Saturday morning live, every Saturday morning. Me as a late sleeper and you with a 2-year-old.
Yes.
Yes.
Who's now 7.
And we got a great community. The lifers joined us, and we did that for 2 years until pandemic was over. And we threatened that we would come back and do specials from time to time.
And this is one of our specials. We just did another one live with Connor Trenier at the San Francisco Mission. What is it called? San Francisco
Mission to San Francisco, Star Trek San Francisco, STSF.
Star Trek STSF. So that is available on Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek's channel. So thank you to all you who tuned in.
And I think the first one we did with Sirach last year was
Yeah.
So you know what? I was just thinking, doing that live, that was a big thing to do this.
We did it live.
We did it live. Doing it in person live and with a guest was totally out of format, and it was awesome. But I was thinking, as I heard the music playing this morning, there is nothing like old school.
Oh gosh, I love this music. I was just
doing this.
Listening to that music, I was like, I am so excited to both watch Star Trek and also to get on a Disney ride. And it kind of, my feelings go back and forth between the two while I'm listening to that music. Larry, we got a great topic today.
Yes,
we've got one of our extensively researched.
Before you start, I just want to say, should we talk? So we've got a lot of lifers in the audience, but we probably
so many
have a lot
lifers.
of new VTC people with us today.
Yes, we do.
Believe it or not, we actually have a structure to this.
We do. The structure is we wing it. No, I'm just kidding, folks. Here's what we're going to be doing. We take one current-ish topic from Star Trek, and we explore how it relates to our lives right now. And then we're going to go, that's our briefing room where we kind of explore this and take that topic and see how the tapestry of that topic relates to the entirety of all of Star Trek. And then we do a little bit of a counselor's log. This is where I do a deep dive into the psychology behind that topic. We transition that into a K2, K2, K3, K3.
K3.
K2 is the mountain. We'll tell you all about the K3 factor when
I get there.
It's Larry's turn. Yeah, and then we go to an away mission where you can apply some of this stuff to your own life right now, and then we open it all up for a briefing room. And Larry, we're gonna somehow do that in an hour today.
We open it to hailing frequencies because briefing room is the beginning here.
Is that what I said? Wow. How am I less awake?
But you got through the opening. We did the opening perfect this time. So it was
all right. So Larry, what is our, let's open up that briefing room. Let's get in there.
Hey everybody.
Hi Cassandra. Hi Linda.
There we go.
Hi everybody.
Yay.
Hi. Hi May. So Larry, our topic today, finding clarity in the overwhelm. This topic is kind of inspired by two things. One, the entire last season of Star Trek Lower Decks, which was what a season. Yeah. What a season we had. But the character of Boimler has this pad. He has this pad which has so much information about a alternative universe, a parallel alternative universe where he's listening to Nirvana. No, a parallel universe, Boimler, who is very successful, confident, has a beard, all of the things that he does not have.
Hands out bointers.
Yes. And he's really enthralled by not only this Boimler, but this pad. And he gets lost in that pad and kind of second guesses himself and what he's doing and all of that. And you and I were talking, as we often do, about Star Trek. And we were thinking about how this kind of relates to what is happening. I love that picture.
I love that it was issue 48. Like, he may be hot, but he wasn't in issue 47. So
no, it took a while. It took a while for them to work their way to.
But he's doing that because you want me to run through these real fast here while we're here.
Well, hold on. One sec. This as we were kind of talking about what to talk about here at Virtual TrekCon, you know, you and I talked about how so many of us are experiencing this. Now, we don't have a pad about a parallel universe version of ourselves, but many of us have these damned things, Jim. These bloody things over here, which we get.
I'm a human, not a scanner.
Yeah. I'm a doctor, not a. I don't know.
Crinkled-faced iPhone. What is that?
No, it's I've got a little bit of NASA imagery.
Oh, okay.
Right over here. Yeah,
that's the three pillars. That was on Voyager.
That was
from the Hubble. Yeah.
There we go. That we'll talk about that in bonus.
That's another show's K3. Okay.
But many of us are getting lost in the information right now, and the information is quite overwhelming and scary, and there's a lot there. So that's kind of how we got to this, finding clarity in the overwhelm.
Yeah, and information as in the news, the recurring health issues. I feel like, you know, we did the show for the pandemic, and then but it wasn't like, you know, it's like all big upthrusts in history. It's like there's a war, World War II starts, bang, and then it's over. They actually have a peace treaty signing on the Missouri, and yet it's not like you go back to 1939 or you know, it's like, and maybe I should get a more modern example, but it's like, when you get over something, it's never a clean cut black and white return to the, you know, there's always ripple effects. There's always echoes. And I feel like we're still into that with the pandemic. Our politics are certainly there. And the hell. And anyway, it's just, yes,
there's a lot.
And that phone you were holding brings you the news and the information of the world.
This damned thing, Jim.
Along with all the fake news of the world and the, you know, the good, bad, and the ugly news of the world. I mean, it's overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Yeah. And like Boimler, I think many of us are second guessing what to do. We're getting lost in all of this. Gosh, I love these. Larry, this is not fair. As I think Scott said, I prefer to think of it as the previous season of Lower Decks, not the last season. Some of us still have hope. Who knows? Who knows what might happen? What show might come back?
Well,
but just seeing these images makes me miss Lower Decks already so much.
Well, and part of the thing about all this overwhelm, when we go to a trusted source, sometimes the trusted source might, lead us astray.
Yeah.
Get to being led astray here.
Well, in this episode, if for those of you who might remember, Boimler is trying to be friends with the doctor, the good,
because that's what his alternate did,
and he does it by swearing at her, I think. Which
yes, he tries to outswear her, or be on her level,
which doesn't work in the short term, and it kind of ends up working in the long term, kind of.
Yeah, but still, it was a short term. I spared us the gory details of the scenes here.
Yes.
Plus, then that news gets into other people's hands, and it's not helpful.
Yeah.
And like his pad here, and then finally, what part of the arc? Are we going to go? Yes. Boy, these are big images. What finally happens is he decides he didn't need it after all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Let us know in the
as
comments.
a tool to get through the overwhelm.
Love to know in the comments, yes or no, if this is something you've been struggling with.
You don't have posting ability, do you?
I can't post, but I can read. I can read, Jim. I don't know why I'm bones today.
Give me names and time codes of what you're seeing, and I'll do it.
Nice. Charlotte says, outswearing was a solid strategy. This is I don't have at 2:15. Charlotte, who we saw in person.
Yes,
it
was a lifer that she wore her T-shirt and everything. It was her.
Yeah, Charlotte, it was fantastic to see you. So, yes or no? Are you dealing with any of this overwhelm? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. But Boimler, Larry, was not the only character that we've seen that's kind of been in this situation in Star Trek. We've talked about. Yeah,
it is Star Trek, Ollie.
It is Star Trek. There's a lot of it. I keep hearing about this show, the Star Trek. There's so much.
It's like people have problems and they get over that, and then there's another problem.
Are you talking about Miles? Is this Larry? I gotta tell you. I was at Star Trek trivia in San Francisco this week. I came in 3rd place.
Oh, good.
Which I'm proud of, because if you the first place, they were quoting monologues from Star Trek movies. I could not compete accurately quoting monologues. But one of the questions was, this is the name of, I'm paraphrasing it, but one of the questions was, this is the protective coating on the USS Defiant that makes it particularly, resilient against enemy fire.
Right?
Yeah, and you know the answer to this is
ablative
armor, right? So we wrote that down, and then someone screamed out, Miles O'Brien as the answer.
Well, he is the most famous person in all of Starfleet. I think that Starfleet was the adjective. Yes, thank you, Lower Decks, once again. But you're right.
But there's been many characters that we've seen who Scott also got 3rd place at Trek Trivia. Oh, yeah, and Scott, that was the exact same trivia. It was the exact same person.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
It was Ollie, Oliver, who goes by Ollie sometimes. We bonded over that.
That's going to cause a bit of confusion. Okay.
Yeah.
Python.
So, Larry, we talked about a few other characters that were kind of going through the similar process.
Oh, cool. But as we do in what is the briefing room? Briefing room is where we do this, right? It's not the next.
This would be right now.
I was going to say. So yes, talking about other things. Yeah.
So let's talk. Yeah. So one clear example that came to mind was Archer in the Xindi arc, which is for those of you who remember, this is the 3rd season of Star Trek Enterprise. Earth has been attacked. This was Star Trek responding and trying to help us to process the September 11th terrorist attacks in the United States. And Archer is given in
higher ratings to save the show, but that's aside.
There's that too. There's a lot at play here. And Archer was given, what was his exact mission, Larry? Was it to go stop this threat?
Yeah,
Or
go
was it
stop the Xindi weapon from being the big one. If
the
that
big
was
one?
the little guy, then the big boy needed to be stopped. And
Right. Those were his orders. And in that 24, 25, how many episodes were in that season?
26.
26? My goodness. In, in that.
Well, that was a standard season. They may have been whittling on it by then, but yeah.
Woo! I feel for the production team. 26 episodes.
Yes.
My
Half
God,
of the
Jim.
viewers today are going 10. Are you kidding me? 10? But yeah.
I'm an actor, not a machine, Jim. So in all of the episodes that came there, one of the I think what was really interesting to see is Jonathan Archer having to stick very closely to this specific, very urgent, very important goal, and sacrificing other things that might come up, other opportunities, other detours. It was kind of like Archer playing a video game and not going on any side quest at all. Like, I need to reach the end of the game. I need to reach the Xindi.
No Boyhood Nebula books. Nope.
No.
No talking to the 5th grade class of Mrs. Jones's. Yeah.
Love that Degra. This is Scott saying, love that the Degra actor, great voice, something. Randy
Oglesby.
He was great.
I saw who came down one of the 2 Star Trek strike days. I think after SAG got in on the strike. I saw him and his friend who was also a Xindi. It was Scott. Scott McDonald. He and Scott McDonald came down and picketed on the Star Trek Day in September. Should we mention one thing real quick? This got immortalized on the.
Do you want to read it, Larry? Do you want to read?
This is the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. If people are wondering, what is this drinking game that people are referring to, Larry? You want to read out the?
This was okay. Number one, this was not our idea.
This is not sanctioned by Larry. Yeah.
And you'd think a show that dealt in mental health would not be encouraging people to drink.
I was drinking coffee.
It was 10 a.m. on Saturday mornings. Drinking caffeine was totally fine. But no, so the original rules, and I think Jared, our co-admin, was in on this too, and Scott and everybody. Drink whenever anybody sings, anyone does an impression, anyone mentions tapestry.
Oh, I already did that.
Oh yeah. God. Oh, I was showing the glass off. Are you kidding? This is the T Public glass, which is still available. Whenever Larry mentions McCoy, although you were doing it all day.
Oh my gosh, we are already pretty deep in this.
And when Ollie mentions the Kelvin timeline.
Did I do that yet? No.
That hasn't happened yet.
No, but it might. It might. We are still early in this hour.
The drinking game is a lot like the rules of acquisition. There are lots of corollaries and antecedents, and yeah, they evolved over time. But anyway, back to Crisis.
It was really interesting to see what a captain does with such a narrow, urgent mission parameter. I mean, so often, to quote the Kelvin timeline, Starfleet is this peacekeeping armada. But to see it in this time of war, and to see what Archer, how he has to have that clarity in this time of war, I think was really interesting, and it'll tie into some of what I'm going to talk about in the.
So that was big scale Overwhelm and Crisis, and then we had small scale Crisis and Overwhelm.
Yeah, with Trip. Trip goes through a lot actually in the show. We talked. He
was the engineer.
Yeah.
We must suffer. O'Brien must suffer, and now Trip must suffer. Yeah.
We talked about this with Connor on our panel. Again, if you haven't seen
Philip suffered near enough on lower. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying we kind of we opened that panel talking with Connor about how Trip was so similar to is the closest Star Trek character to us, to humans right now, and talked about how inspirational it was to see that type of character on Star Trek. And then Connor kind of immediately says, yeah, and Trip's gone through some stuff. Like, it was not all like sunshine and daisies. And this character really does go through a lot, from losing his sister in the original Xindi attack to then losing the the daughter he never knew he had that
Who was
was
named after his sister.
who was named after his sister.
Yeah.
And the rise of the xenophobia that we saw in the final arc of Star Trek Enterprise
The
as
Chair of
well.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot that this character goes through.
So,
And
so speaking of Overwhelm, how does it feel to run around with the cause of your eventual death in your head that you
yeah,
have to do?
you know, this is one of my favorite things about this is one of my favorite things when the pike beeps. When, oh God.
When the Gorn shoot. Okay.
Oh, I apologize, folks. I really loved season 1 of Strange.
It's okay, Ollie, because you know what's happened? What's broke out in the chat?
What broke out? Damar goes far. Oh, you know what?
They're doing they've got the
drinking Kanar.
Damar in the bar with the Kanar.
You know, another question at trivia night was about the answer was yamic sauce. But my best buddy, Lowen,
who came to San Francisco,
who's at San Francisco, he's like, is it Kanar? Is the answer Kanar? And I'm like, Lowen, the answer is not Kanar. That's what Damar drinks at the bar. And as all the lifers here know, we have a running joke with Kanar.
They're already into it. Yeah,
they're into it. It's a good one. But Larry, season 1, Strange New Worlds. I love it, and I love that Captain Christopher Pike, I don't know what that impression was. Christopher Pike he's really stuck in this loop of thoughts and images about what might happen in the future. He's ruminating. When we ruminate, we get stuck on something that happened in the past.
Like my spinning wheel is spinning here.
Right, yeah. His wheels kept spinning on this memory he had of a future event. Which is he's both dealing with rumination and worry at the same time, which is, I think, something many of us deal with a lot if we might be stuck on something that happened before and what's going to happen in the future. And he has to, his whole journey, season 1, is how can I be the captain my ship, Starfleet, needs me to be when I have this memory in my head, which then in that final episode, was that final episode of season 1?
The redo of Bounce of Terror.
Yeah, what is
Element of Mercy?
Element of Mercy? Yeah. That sounds like a good title. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Where we finally see him in that beautiful monster maroon. Oh my goodness. He's having to confront all of these things, and he's having to find clarity. How do I stick to my gut instincts when I am so struggling with these memories and these worries? I love it. I love that journey.
And I've got to remind you of the journey that we only have an hour today, not 2 hours.
No, Larry, we're doing this in 3 hours.
We're doing it in 1. We're doing it in 1. And then chronologically, not production order. It's like, I was laughing a while ago, but I'm one of the criticisms about Discovery was that did anyone ever tell a joke on Discovery? Did anybody ever laugh until the last season or so? Because it was like, crisis. So they were overwhelmed. To me, it was like they wrote the book on Overwhelm. Whether they're fighting Klingons or fighting time dimension jumping or fighting creeping killer ice or whatever.
Or emperors or...
mirror emperors, mirror turncoat captains.
They're really dealing with a lot, aren't they?
Supporting the entire weight of a new streaming service that has a legacy brand that they either kill or they had a lot of Overwhelm.
Oh my gosh.
Little K3 sliding in there.
Oh my gosh. The K3 just sliding into my DMs there. But our good doctor, what is he dealing with here? Dealing with the dying and not
coming back from death.
And coming back from death. So what I like about this, Larry, there's something we can all relate to here, where we have experienced something that really makes us question life, relationships, the world, the universe, the multiverse, how things work. And he's stuck in that process until he gets actually some fantastic little ad hoc therapy from Admiral
Cornwell.
Cornwell. I was about to say Cornwall. I knew that was not right.
Which is what I always wanted to do. But yes.
Which is what you wanted. Yeah, yeah.
I used to, why is not just Cornwall? Yeah.
He gets a little bit of support that helps him to get unstuck with that healing process that isn't happening. And as we start to see him open up a little bit more about this and not keeping it to himself as much, he does find that clarity that helps him to move forward, helps him to get back into his relationship, and really helps him to become the person that we see in the last few seasons, who is someone who has some joy, who really you can tell that he loves life. That sounds so corny, but you know what I mean, Larry? Like,
he had that, yes, person. He had the real. Well, I'm sitting here going, I'm glad for Wilson because they gave him an arc in the last season. But that's my K3 level. But yes, as a character in the universe at the moment, it was. And I think it was something the show needed. I mean, I put Charlotte's bit up there about everybody else had a planet of the week. Disco had a trauma of the week. That's the trademark. It's the trauma trademark of Discovery. But yeah.
That's, you know, what, I interviewed my last year as a psychology trainee. I interviewed
1 hour, Ollie.
Boston. 1 hour. I know. I'll make it quick, Jim. I interviewed at this hospital in Boston, and the supervisor said, we in mental health, we bring clarity to the maelstrom of the mind. And Larry, what better monster of the week than the maelstrom of the mind?
That really interesting.
Yeah, we are on now in interviewing
that
Discovery.
Interesting. Why do I still have a let me go back. Okay. I'm sorry. Why do I still have a thing up?
Hey, it wouldn't be Life Support Live without a little bit of technical difficulty.
I'm sorry, I left my blue S at home, everybody. So talk about Overwhelm. How about losing the damn ship because you needed a cheap idea in a movie? Oh, no, wait. Because it was a momentous crisis point.
Oh my gosh. You know, Larry, that's what you do. You turn death into a, what is it? Fighting chance to live?
Yeah, what? You really did get third place in that. I'm very proud of you, Austin.
I was about to say that's why I got.
What I always wanted McCoy to say was, "You did what you always do, Jim. You just read the damn lines they give you and don't think about it."
Larry, you're really breaking the fourth wall today with your.
Well, we've only got an hour.
We've only got an hour. We got to reach out and
just put these K3s in where I can.
But okay, so I love this one too.
Again, you had mega crisis, and you had macro crises and overwhelm, and micro crises and overwhelm. And
so it's such a great. I mean, if we don't have the time, but if we did have the time, if we had 7 hours, I'd love to talk about Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock and how they are really such perfect bookends to a similar story. Wrath of Khan, we have someone who is obsessed with revenge. And we have we see how that plays out for Khan. Despite his superior intellect and all that sort of stuff, he cannot see beyond that. Now, Search for Spock is a very different story about a crew who has the clarity of we help each other. We help the people we love. If there's any chance that Spock is out there, if there's any chance we can get this damn thing out of my brain, Jim, get that Katra out of Bones' head.
It's his revenge for all those arguments.
Yeah, seriously, it's Genesis, Planet Forbidden.
There you go.
They will. Yeah, I can't not. It's the worst, my favorite worst line in all of Star Trek. But Kirk knows I might lose my commission. They might never give me a ship unless I rescue the Earth, you know, in a way that only I can in the next movie. I might lose everything, but you know what? This is important. I'm going to pursue it, and we're going to move forward. Don't worry about the time, Larry. We can always fly around the Earth and make the time go backwards.
I was reacting to Charlotte here. This isn't the time to talk about the time, right?
Oh, the time. We don't have. You know, Larry, what I think about time.
We don't have time.
I think time is the fire in which we all burn. That's what I think.
How did you only get third place in that trivia contest?
Let's what else you got? What else you got for me, Larry?
We were talking about, like I said, there's more than one crisis of overwhelm in Star Trek.
Oh, you want to talk about Deep Space Nine?
Well, not really, but this was here, so I thought, why not?
Let's talk about Deep Space Nine. And there is a fantastic struggle that Benjamin Sisko deals with in the tail end of the show. And I'm not talking about the Dominion War. I'm really talking about the conflict he has as emissary and as Starfleet captain. Yeah. And our good admiral, what's his name? The good admiral, what's his name? Admiral Ross. Yeah. With his big Starfleet belt buckle that he's got. I love that
he used
thing.
To be a rodeo cowboy, so they did that.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That belt buckle, Larry, is how you know he's not a badmiral. Badmirals, I think Admiral Doherty, does he have a big belt buckle?
I don't even want to get into buckle size. I think we should just stay away from that.
Okay. We'll stay away from that.
Let's not get into size.
But Admiral Ross says you got to make a decision here. You got to decide, Sisko. Are you the emissary of the prophets, or are you a Starfleet captain? And I love seeing Sisko try to navigate that. And there are consequences to whatever decision he makes, and we see those consequences, and they don't really work out too well. Until they work out well, I don't know. I don't know. But it's great to see that struggle.
Are you saying that he didn't say, "I'm a captain, not an emissary"? Is that what you're saying?
I would
not an icon.
Yeah. I would have loved that, Larry. What is this picture?
However, the Dominion War was also something that was a little bit overwhelming. So just
right, absolutely. This picture looks like the three of them are hanging out, like a Starfleet captain, a Wei Yun, and a Jem'Hadar walk into Quarks, and then what happens next here?
Right, don't worry, we'll answer that riddle in the finale. No, this is what was I gonna say? Oh, this is they're all having a hangout, and they've all agreed. The one thing that's brought them all together was that stupid holographic communicator ring on the floor was a dumb idea, and no one will ever see anything like that again.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I remember that.
That was a deep cut to Discovery. Anyway,
it was
here. This was a great picture. I forgot this was framed. Talk about your crisis overwhelm.
Oh my gosh.
And you got the macro and the micro in one picture.
You know what? We're all about the micros. We're all about the macros. That's what we do here at Life Support Live. Janeway, oh gosh, we could spend so much time talking about this, but you're in the Delta Quadrant. You feel this responsibility, and I don't care who you are. I will. This is an island. I will fight on, whatever the expression is, Larry. I don't know the expression right now. I think all of Voyager is really Janeway dealing with the trauma of stranding her crew in the Delta Quadrant.
Well, that and building a new shuttlecraft every week. Those are the two main crisis points.
Those are the main two. And then, like destroying the Borg. There's that too. But one of the ways in which she is trying to deal with that is prioritizing getting back home, no matter what. Like, this is what we're doing. We're not going to just have a joyride here in the Delta Quadrant. We're going to make our way back home. And what is so beautiful about her journey is there are times where there are shortcuts. And will she compromise her Starfleet values to take the shortcut? Obviously, the Equinox two-parter is the best example of that, but we see examples of that the whole time. So how can she, like in this moment, in this moment, she's probably thinking about her husband and her dog, but how she often looks outside that window and wonders, how do I get there? And do I make compromises? What is my guiding direction here?
Right. Plus, she's also thinking, what a damn dramatic shot this is. Oh, no.
Beautifully flamed. We got foreground, we got background, we got logos, pathos.
I'd forgotten this image existed until Scott found this, but yeah.
Nicely done, Scott.
Thank the late great Rick Colby for this setup.
He made it so here.
Yeah. So I did Discovery early on, and Picard Picard season 1 and 2 were just like huge traumas too. So
what else you got for me,
boy,
Larry?
that's the end of that run.
That's the end of that. Why don't we jump into the no, we did that one, Larry. We
I'm
briefed.
getting there. I can't. There we go. Boom.
We're well briefed. Counselor's log. Let's do the counselor's log. This is the part of the show where I do a little bit more of a deeper dive into the psychology behind.
Even more of a deeper dive, Dr.
Even
Ali?
more deeper dive. Can you believe that? When I dive, Larry, I dive deep. Actually, no, I don't dive. I stay very close to the water.
We've got 20 minutes just to let you know.
So here's the thing, Larry. Here's the thing that happens. There's two things that I want people to know that are both related to what we're talking about, as well as the Star Trek stories here. We often like to believe that if we have more information, it will actually help us to make better decisions. And that's not the case. What tends to happen when we have a lot of information or a lot of stuff is coming at us, we get overwhelmed. We have this cognitive bottleneck. We can't handle a ton of information that's coming at us.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when we have a lot of information, it actually tends to create more uncertainty, which then only escalates anxiety. And in disaster scenarios, when something's happening around you and it really amps up your anxiety, let's say it's some kind of natural disaster, flood, earthquake, something like that, or let's say it's really shocking news, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What tends to happen is we do nothing. Most people
freeze, deer in the headlights.
Yes, most people freeze. It's overwhelming. We don't know what to do. We don't do anything. And I think this is what happens to all of it. It happens to me, bear with me, often on the toilet. I go in to pee. I take out my phone to respond to Larry's message. Ali, do you have topics for us yet for Life Support Live? I start responding. I look up something to send to Larry. Then I'm distracted by something else. Then the algorithm pulls me here. 30 minutes later, I'm like, what the heck happened? I came in here to do one thing and I've ended up doing absolutely nothing. And this loop is what keeps happening over and over again.
Congratulations. So, I don't think in all the times we did the show and the special since we ever had a toilet moment, but okay.
We've got it right now, Larry.
Okay.
We have, we've achieved what we did it. Celebrate. It's
the new drinking. Drink whenever somebody mentions. No, that's a thing. No, it's like, it's two things. It's like the overwhelm freezes you, but then also you're processing. So it's almost like it's a good thing you are frozen because you weren't going to do anything anyway because you're listen, you talked about overwhelm and process and how do you break through that. And this is very fresh on my mind. I talk about like I was there. I was not one of the thousands at either the Eaton fire in Altadena or the Palisades fire in the Palisades. But I feel like I was because a lot of folks know that I've been a docent. I'm a lifelong Will Rogers fan. I think I mentioned Will occasionally, even on life support.
That should have been in the drinking game.
To mental health as far as laughing your way out of something or just thinking of something in a new way, but with some pathos and porthos. But we lost the historic ranch. We were just about to have the centennial era of it and the stables. And it was just devastating in the middle of so many other people hurting who lost their fire, lost their homes, their businesses. And now it's like a toxic, all the old lead and all the old, even asbestos in some of those places. And now they're dealing with that on top of people just trying to get their homes back.
Yeah.
But we lost a huge historic. But that overwhelm, there were emergency procedures in place, and our staff, our curator, our previous curator was talking about how she packed up the house 5 different times in her 20 years when they had fire threat. And this was a time when it's hard to, despite what all the Monday morning quarterbacks and firefighters say and politicians, it's hard to do anything when you're basically got 80-mile-an-hour fire winds.
Yeah, and
it's like a hurricane with fire instead of water. Or
you're totally right. I'll talk about
NATO, but fire NATO. Anyway, but they had emergency lists and procedures and got up and they got away with 4 truckload, not the furniture and the big stuff, but a lot of the contents. We lost the historic 20s and 30s structures, but a lot of the quirky things and a lot of the main art pieces and stuff, were removed. Because they had an emergency plan and they could fight through the crisis in the moment and they were trained you know, they had training to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in the away mission, and this is something that all public response people struggle with in a crisis.
Mhm.
Is the default in a crisis is to do nothing. A lot of people didn't want to leave their homes during the LA fires.
Mhm.
It's very hard to get people to act when you need them to act. And on a personal level, most of us will get stuck and lost in these really frustrating news feeds or social feeds, and we'll do nothing and we'll be overwhelmed with information and come out of it feeling like we know less and we have less direction of what to do. So, counselor's log here is more information, more knowledge, more crisis leads to less action. And so what do we do about it? We'll talk about it in the away mission. But Larry, I got a need. I got a need for a little bit of a
Not for
K3
speed.
speed. All right, the K3 factor. This is the only reference in the original series to mental health. There was a
Right.
K3 level right over there that McCoy had at his
Yes.
station.
Brain K3. So I think it was probably more about the electrical activity in the brain, but
And Larry, this is where
it was
you take
crazy.
us a little bit behind the scenes into
Yeah.
something related to this week's theme. And as a fun game for me, you try to stump me with some new
Yeah,
information I don't know about.
I don't know that I'm going to stump you and prep you to win second in that trivia contest next time. But I was thinking about Overwhelm since we came up with the theme, and it's hard to find both the topic and something to illustrate it with. But I'm going to go generic and then specific. I'm going to go macro and micro too.
Macro, micro. That's how we do it. Let's do it.
You are what you know, and one of the things, even my documentary, The Con of Wrath, gets into is how much things have changed over the years and how much things are exactly the same on the human factor, especially. And one thing that has not changed, whether it's 1964 and you're shooting The Cage, right?
Oh my gosh. Look
Look
at
at
all
that control. There's the sets. There's the, you know,
a lot
some
of
of the
light.
actors are over here. Whether it's there and you're shooting way back then, or it's, you know, years later and you're on the bridge. But look at that controlled confusion and that controlled chaos, right? You hope it's controlled. Somebody's getting paid
Sure.
money.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's either good union money or it's star money. That in the middle of the chaos, and here's, you know, again, over the decades, nothing has changed. A shooting a movie or a TV show, especially the pressure on a TV show where you've got time is money. That's controlled chaos too. And there are some people whose job it is to keep the chaos, you know, to make plans, to keep things rolling, and they do, or else they get fired and they find somebody else to do it. But that's a job skill in a case of, you know, and when you have to plan for the unexpected, to have plan A, B, C, and D for all of that. And, you know, that's something that has to happen, or the business model falls apart, right? So I was trying to think of people, and there are so many folks who have worked on Star Trek over the years that keep that. Now, there's always personal cases. There was a guest actor who got cast as a Vulcan Enterprise, and he'd done some other roles before on Trek, but he for some reason he had his ears on and was like a second level Vulcan speaking lines. I think fourth season. Anyway, he just freaked out. It came time for his call. They were shooting. Nobody could find him. They went out in the alley and they found a couple of pointed ears in the alley where he'd like ripped them off and left.
Yeah.
And for a long time, Dave Trotty had a little card on the bulletin board backstage that said, all we found of Kelly, I think was his first name. And he had like one of the ears pinned to this card. It says, all we ever found of Kelly. But so that's it. You know, sometimes the overwhelm and maybe different triggering gets to people. But over time, TV and movie work, you know, 16-hour days, 18-hour days, if that's where you are, takes a toll on people. And I just wanted to say, one of the people that seemed to last forever. Okay, here's this great shot shooting the end of Cage. You got Gene here. You got Bob Butler, who I got to know at the end, and we got to bring on Portal 47. And of course, Susan Oliver. And this guy over here, who amazingly was an assistant director, but he still wound up keeping the gears going, is Bob Justman. And they gave him, this is the next pilot for Where No Man. And James Goldstone was directing it, and they've got Gene. This is a selling card for selling the pilot. They actually made this up and had like a display board, and it's a great. And then here's Bob over here, kind of a good, but him and that mustache was always a thing. And talk about a survivor who worked. Then fast forward 20 years, and here's Bob on Farpoint with the director here and a couple of network suits, and here's Michael back here as Worf. I think that's yeah. Anyway, this is Les Landau, who is assistant director. Anyway, Bob Justman, I mean, he's aged a little in the 20 years, but it's like one of the like, how did he, you know, keep his? Oh, here he's the first year of Gene's birthday. They're doing a thing here, but he's a co-producer by then. But somebody who dealt with details in crisis and seemed to thrive on it, and handles so many aspects of Star Trek until third season of the original series. He had to step back. He was burning out big time, and then he basically came out of retirement to help launch Next Gen, and went one season. But he had the quirkiest sense of humor, and he had a correspondence in the original series. They took Polaroids because that's what they had. This girl sent him a letter, and he would take Polaroids in the office and send them back. And if you've ever been in the writing or the art department, you know, everybody in their action figures in the art departments, and you know, the atmosphere of a lot of places, you can tell a lot about a show by what they've decorated, what the people have in their offices. And they had some of their monster figures with costume. The Gorn has another one, but he would take Polaroids of him around the office and send to this girl. And they were all, you know, she had this little treasure trove of gems from the original series offices, thanks to so I'm just saying, I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm saying, but it's the fact that making Star Trek itself is controlled chaos and is overwhelmed.
This is great. This is
you got some people, I don't want to say thrive on it, because I think it just really, it can burn you out. And how many marriages, how many lives burned out working in Hollywood those crazy hours? So whenever all the guilds, the stage people, IATSE folks, whenever they're in there for their, you know, unions, it's like, yeah, they get to work and they get to see actors and stuff. But after 18 hours, 5 days a week or something sometimes, and doing that for, you're lucky and you're on a show that goes for a long time, it takes it out of you and takes it out of your family and you. And so you have to learn how to find clarity in the overwhelm.
This is a great segue into what I want to talk about in the away mission, Larry. And I wasn't really anticipating this metaphor. I had a very different metaphor set up for us. But I'm going to go a metaphor that's related to your K3.
Are you going off script?
I'm going off script. I know it's very hard to believe for Life Support Live that I'm going to
Are you finding clarity in the overwhelm of how this show has gone?
There's always clarity in the overwhelm of the chat. I appreciate our chatters, for our lifers, for bringing that. But there's so many people on a set. There's everyone in front of the camera. There's everyone behind the camera. There's equipment. There's expensive equipment. There's deadly equipment. There's heavy equipment. Yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot happening there. And if you think about what makes for a good shoot, is everyone has prepared. Again, not to promote this episode again, but I'm going to do it. If you watch our episode with Connor Trenier on Larry's YouTube channel, Larry, you asked him this great question about how he dealt with being on set. And he talked about having a soothing routine that he does every single time before he goes on set. So what makes a shoot really work is everyone knows their role. Everyone knows every other person's role, when to step in, when to step back. And everyone has prepped for it. That means storyboards. That means rehearsing your lines. That means all the markers on where to step. All that stuff, right? And this is what I want to talk about here in the away mission. Is we have to accept that when we are overwhelmed or when a crisis is happening, the default is not knowing what to do. The default is to be overwhelmed, and the default is to do nothing. Someone in the chat said it's not that people in emergencies don't want to help. It's that they don't know how to help. That is absolutely true.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you, Bob, for that. That is absolutely right. this idea of bystander apathy. Like we don't know what to do, and we usually follow someone else's action when someone takes action. A very quick story I'll share is I grew up here in California. I'm in Northern California. Larry's in Southern California. And growing up here, you do earthquake drills all throughout school. Duck, cover, and hold. Duck, cover, and hold. We do it all the time. And it's so ingrained in my head of what to do when an earthquake comes that I immediately respond. Now, I lived in New York for a while, New York City, and I was working at a hospital back in, I think 2011, and an earthquake hit Manhattan. Things started shaking. No one knew what to do. And everyone was saying, let's all move closer to each other and stand close. And I said, no, duck, cover, and hold. Get under a table. So here's the thing.
Let's all get close.
Let's all get, that's verbatim.
Like the last scene of Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah. It's verbatim what my boss told me at that time. And it's not that was a dumb decision. It's that is, people didn't know what to do. It's too late in a crisis to think about it. So whatever the situation is that you are being overwhelmed with right now, you have to rehearse. You have to visualize. You have to practice. You have to have a game plan in place now before you get into the situation. The very quick solution I came up with is I am not taking my phone into the bathroom with me. I am not, because I get lost. And if I need to take anything, I take fiction with me. I take a book, as old fashioned as that sounds. I'm sorry, Charlotte, for the TMI, but if we don't do a storyboard, the shoot is going to fail. That's kind of the idea here. The analogy I had was a different one. But I like this one. You got to storyboard your scenes before you actually set up to shoot.
Yeah. Well, you have a production meeting. Everybody goes through their roles, their bits. Questions get asked ahead of time, not in the moment where there might be a crisis moment and the clock is ticking and the money meter is running. So yeah, we can just pound this production shooting metaphor all to pieces. But
so the away mission. Think now, when you're not in that situation of being overwhelmed, what is going to help you to get through it? Plan it out right now, pre-visualize it in your mind, plan it out so that when that situation comes, you're going to be well equipped for it. Don't try to do it in the moment. It's too late. And then if that happens to you, have a little bit of grace on yourself, because that's only human. And Larry, I think it's that time when we open up.
I know. I'm just looking at the tail end here. When did I not know what I was saying? What is this? What is this?
We are opening up the hailing frequencies, where we try to dive into some of the
hold on. I've
some
got
of the wonderful comments.
Okay, now it's official.
Now hailing frequencies are open, all frequencies, all bandwidths, subspace, and
I'm just
regular
looking at
space.
Everybody. Oh, well, you're not the Chris Black writer, Chris Black. Damn network. Okay.
Just a little bit of housekeeping here. Scott says, just a few minutes, lifers. The link to the next virtual Trekland event is in the description. Be sure to join the official VTC opening ceremony happening.
There's that link. Okay. Oh, we're ahead of the opening ceremony. Wow.
We are the unofficial opening ceremony to the opening ceremony.
We're the kickoff. We're the pre-launch, I guess, as well.
Charlotte here says, I also know when to step back and let people to do their jobs, which is, a great thing. Is listen to the experts in the room, which is becoming harder and harder to do, Larry.
Well, the rooms are wrecked and the experts have faked IDs. So
there you go. Yeah. Let's see.
Can you hear anything?
Yeah, Sydney, I hear the music a little bit.
Can you hear anything coming over the mic?
I hear a little bit. Sydney says, I just want to say that Star Trek, the original series, has gotten me out of dark days of my mental health. Thank you for sharing that, Sydney. I think Star Trek has helped a lot of people to get out of
there we go.
Some dark
Sydney's
days.
had a journey or two, and she shared that in some of my communities. And
It reminds me a lot of what James Doohan shares in the documentary Trekkies about how coming to a Star Trek convention is
Mhm.
something that really helped a fan who was really going through some tough stuff themselves. So Star Trek is a lot of our mental health support. I
Um,
agree.
I'm just yeah. Star Trek. Scott says Star Trek's the ultimate comfort TV. Yeah. There you go, Charlotte. First time you felt like a real Californian was when you just wrote it out. And basically, no, the first time I did was at a creation after the big earthquake, but it hit, and a lot of the out of town people got up and ran out of the auditorium at Creation's Pasadena show like they were going to go do something. And I'm like, guys, by the time you walk out there, your car is either crushed in a parking structure,
yeah,
or it's not. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Get to safety. Yeah. I love how Linda sings tiny sad music.
Well, listen, Ali, can you hear the music yet? I'm trying.
I hear it. I'm
doing it live.
You're doing it live.
So I don't know. This has been awesome to have this.
This has been awesome,
with you and the lifers, new and old.
Folks, if you want to learn more about anxiety and topics like this, head over to braverwithanxiety.com. That is my free resource. I've got a free 7-lesson course in how to deal with anxiety. So Braver with Anxiety is a link for that. And Larry, where do people need to go to get more from Dr. Trek?
Can you see this? LarryNemecek.com. See us Tuesdays on Life Support Live, on Tuesdays Live. And Second Opinion with Dr. Trek. We just let the sad music just ran out, Ollie. But
in a very sad way, it's ran out. Thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a fantastic virtual TrekCon. And we will see you. Down the road. How do we sign off the show? I forgot.
We just would say goodbye and stuff.
We would say, all right, everyone. Oh, live long and prosper, and
Trek well, everybody.
There you go. Bye, folks.
Still got it. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your VTC.